25th, 2020 meeting of the Town of Southampton Planning Board. In accordance with the Governor's Executive Order 202.1, and until further notice, all the board's meetings will be held remotely via video conferencing. So we ask the public to continually check the town's website for updates and information. Can I please ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of
America,
and to the
the
republic
republic which is
for which it stands,
one
one nation, under God,
indivisible.
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have five public hearings this evening. We have applicants and members of the public standing via Zoom, which is being moderated by CTV. Charles Certain will be muting and holding the speakers in a virtual waiting room until it's their time to give testimony before the board. A reminder that applicants, agents, and members of the public speaking should state their name and address for the record. A further reminder that despite the Zoom environment, all comments should be directed to the board and not to other participants. The link to participate in this meeting via Zoom can be found on the town's website. It's also being live streamed on the town's website on the town clerk's meeting portal. Public comments can be made via Zoom, by email, or by uploading them to the town clerk's portal or on the planning board's page. You will see on that page a button you can click to upload your comments. Board members who must recuse themselves for any application will state so on the record and will be removed from the meeting until the end of the meeting, until the end of that hearing. Unless otherwise stated at the end of each hearing, these applications will remain open for written comments from the applicant and the public for 30 days. Those comments can also be made via email or by uploading your comments on the town clerk's portal under the planning board meeting page. Additionally, in accordance with the governor's orders, these hearings will be recorded and transcribed and will be made available to the public. Thank you.
Hey, Jackie.
Yes.
Jackie, I have a question from number 4.
Yeah.
Does the 30-day comment period apply to item number 4?
To all of the applications.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, can we have a roll call?
Absolutely. Chair LaFaro,
Present.
Vice Chair Finnerty,
Present.
Secretary is here, Board Member Long,
Present.
Board Member Zuccarelli, Board Member Burke,
Present.
and Board Member Blaney.
Here.
We have a full board ready to go.
Ready to go. So our first application is Puccio Laundromat. And Matthew, do you want to read the notice?
Yeah, I can read the notice. I don't see that loose here yet. Do you want me to?
Is that John and
No,
Wayne?
They're number 2.
Oh, sorry.
I can read it in, Jackie. I don't see that loose here yet.
Okay, so do you think we should go to number 2?
Whatever you're comfortable with. What do you think, Kathleen?
I think we could go to number 2 while we wait.
Okay, so number 2, we're waiting for number 1, is 12 Foster, former Casual Waters. Matthew, do you want to read that into the record?
I will.
For the record, we do have proper notice.
Sorry, thanks, Kathleen.
Notice of public hearing. Please take notice that in accordance with the governor's executive order number 202.1, a public hearing will be held by the Southampton Town Planning Board on Thursday, June 25th, 2020 at 6 p.m. via video conferencing to consider the site plan application entitled 12 Foster LLC. The subject project is for a special exception application for a change of use from wholesale distribution center for wine, beer, and distilled alcohol beverages to building and construction general and special trade contractor in a 12,420 square foot building on a 43,315 square foot parcel located in the LI 40 zoning district at 12 Foster Avenue in the hamlet of Bridgehampton, Suffolk County tax map number 900-69-1-1. A transcript of said hearing will be provided at a later date, and the public will have an opportunity to see and hear the meeting live and provide comments. The public can watch the live meeting on the town clerk's website under the planning board meeting tab or participate through the Zoom app. If any interested members of the public would like to provide comments on the public hearings, Comments can be submitted to the planning board via mail, email, or uploaded to the town clerk's portal to the meeting, or additional and updated information on ways to view and participate will be posted. In addition, the record will remain open after the public hearing for the submission of written comments. Please check the June 25th meeting agenda posted on the town clerk's website as the hearing dates approaches for further instructions on how to access the virtual meeting and for updated information. In the event of cancellation, this meeting will be held without further notice at the next planning board meeting. Jack LaFaro, Chairperson, by order of the Planning Board of the Town of Southampton. Philip Keith, Secretary.
Okay, and do we have Wayne representing the applicant? Wayne
Yep.
Bruin?
Yes, we do. Thank you, board members. I hope you're all doing well. I'm here on behalf of 12 Foster LLC and Ray Wisnowski, who's been the owner of this parcel since the 1980s. There is a long history of review by this board on this property. If you give me a minute, I'll just give you a little background. This property was established and created, and it's located first on the corner of Butter Lane and Foster Avenue, just north of the Long Island Railroad in the light industrial zone. The surrounding properties are all developed industrial. You have aerial photographs in the record as well. We're here tonight for a change of use, essentially which this board had approved in 2014. But to give you some further background, this application or this property was first developed in the mid-1980s. The zoning board at that time had given necessary dimensional relief to allow a warehouse for landscaping and gardening supplies, outdoor storage, repair of equipment, interior office, fuel pumps as well on this property. In 1987, in March of 1987, this planning board approved the site plan basically for the building as it exists, the configuration of the parking lots as they exist on the property. And that was for that warehouse use. In December of 87, a certificate of occupancy was granted for a storage warehouse for agricultural products. In 1994, the ZBA granted variance for the reduction in the parking requirements for a change in use to a special trade contractor. Basically, this was Michael Riley's wood shop and special trade contractor property. The zoning board granted that variance to from 42 required spaces at that time to 29 spaces. Shortly thereafter, actually 10 years thereafter, the planning board entertained an application for site plan approval and a special exception approval, which was to change that special trade contractor use to a wine distributor. And the board granted that site plan and special exception in 2004. The certificate of occupancy was granted in 2006, and that included offices as well as the warehouse use. Thereafter, the use, the wine distributor left, and the property was occupied by a partnership, which was called Casual Water, which was basically a sprinkler landscape special trade contractor, and a swimming pool, I'm sorry, basically swimming pool contractor. And they did other things related to swimming pools and I believe related to irrigation as well. This board entertained an application in January, it first approved the special exception use for the change from the wine distributor to Casual Water in January of 2014. And then you modified that site plan approval because the applicant was trying to use shared parking with a property to the east, which is also in, basically the different ownership, but control of the applicant. And the board approved that with two conditions, which was to install landscaping to screen a portion of that easterly parking lot from Foster Avenue and all the cross access easements. The landowner didn't agree with the landscaping condition the board approved, and essentially nothing happened. until about a year ago when he got a knock on the door from the fire marshal saying that the existing contractor use is not in accordance with the code, which prompted us to, we were hired to assist. And the first thing we found out that the site plan that the planning board approved, which was prepared by Don Newman, actually, he had left the state and was in Washington State and wasn't practicing anymore. So the applicant had to go to Squires and Holden and come up with a whole new site plan to restart and get reapproval of the use. What we also found out was Casual Water, which was this partnership, the two partners who shared the building had a falling out as far as their operation was concerned, and actually created two separate entities which continue to operate out of the same building. And essentially there's two separate offices that have always been in the building, and one uses one set of office, the other uses the other set of office. The remaining part of the building is all open, and you wouldn't know the difference as far as equipment and materials. So we made an application basically to renew this special exception and site plan approval, knowing that technically the two enterprises are technically two contractors, which would be permitted here. You could actually get up to 4 contractors, I believe, on the property, or at least 2. In any case, that is our special exception application. We made a petition. The site plan that you have now is probably 100% better than the site plan that was prepared and approved by this board. It shows existing drainage. It does show the landscaping that the board wants. The applicant has agreed to that. It also continues to show the shared parking, and more importantly, we now have a legal description for the easement for that. We also provided the board with a number of details that were not on the previously approved site plan. And we're prepared, the applicant is prepared to follow through and get those last couple of conditions approved. So if you have any particular questions, we'd be happy to answer those.
Matthew, can you put up the map, the revised site plan?
Yep, I can throw it up for you guys right now. Get to the right one here, to number 2. All right, so this is an aerial of the site, and this is the revised map. If you can see on this side is a zoom in, is right here.
Okay, so we're going to have some trees in the front.
It would be in the southeast corner. Those trees exist. The trees are in the southeast corner, right along Foster Avenue. To the right of the plan, Matt.
These are the trees Wayne's speaking.
No, further to the right.
These?
Those.
These, okay. Or these exist, yeah, these are proposed.
And that's what the planning board had conditioned the 2014 site plan approval on, as well as you can see, the parking spaces to the north, which are currently all there and being shared by the 2 properties. And that would be an easement shared parking.
But this is a property that's totally open, right? There's nothing.
Yeah, Jackie, I have pictures of the existing conditions if you want to see those also.
Yeah, I think everybody on the board would like to see it. That's it, yeah.
Right, and as you can see, when the planning board approved the site plan, these are loading docks because of the slope. And you can see each of them are loading docks that would be used for box trucks, which have been used throughout the time periods. You can currently see that there's parking taking place, but these tenants do on occasion use box trucks to load or unload in those areas as well.
So there are 2 tenants in here, and one tenant is using the front bays and the other tenant is using the rear bays.
No, they use all the tenants both. There's the whole floor plan inside is totally open.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the bays. Matthew, can you sort of
They all can use, both tenants can use all 4 of them, as well as the other side of the doors on the other side. And that's the current tenants.
Right. Well, what we were looking for here is to close up some of this wide open curb with some vegetation, which would also help with this natural swale that comes through here, which is why all that additional drainage had to be put in way back, I think in 2006, when the Sokolin people were there. So do we have those, Matthew, any of the site plans on that, or?
What site plan, Jackie?
Showing what we're recommending?
We don't. We only have what the applicant submitted, which shows just the open curb cut.
Okay, so Wayne,
Jackie, the difficulty here is how do you maneuver a tractor trailer to each one of those truck loading bays?
these are tractor trailers that are going in?
They have been in the past, and on occasion, I understand these tenants have occasional deliveries, not as much as in the past that they have, but that's what this was designed for. This is how the planning board approved it in the past. And it would, if you try to put a curb along there, you have the difficulty of truck maneuvering at each and every one of those truck bays that are there, the 4 that you see.
Right, well, when the wine distributors were there, they didn't have tractor trailers. They had some trucks.
They had box trucks, right?
But not I've never seen a tractor trailer there, but, okay, so I'm voicing what we have had discussion on. And does anyone else have a comment here?
Could you also show the pictures on the back? There are, I don't know, are we moving the dumpsters? Because it seems very busy back there. Is that,
The rear, Matthew.
Yeah.
This is all of the front.
oh, this is the front. So are these dumpsters? What are, I'm sorry, I don't know what these are. Right there, yep.
I'm actually not sure that it could be a dumpster, but if it's a dumpster, it can't go in the front yard too, is what I,
Okay, so can we make a note of that, please?
absolutely.
I saw those there, and I think on the rear, I guess I'm assuming it was the rear, I thought I saw more.
Must be it.
Down there,
Yeah.
look at the end corner.
If you look at the site plan, that area that Matt pointed to with the fence is actually an air conditioner on a concrete pad.
Yeah.
And then it does say there was a movable dumpster to the north that certainly can be relocated.
Okay.
So what's happening now in the rear of the building? You're going to have tractor trailers that come around that as well?
They could, yes.
I mean, I imagine.
They're not at the same level as the loading docks. So the loading docks are very convenient to pull up and load at the same level versus the doors on the east side of the building are all at grade level. So they're used more or less for other purposes, but not if a tractor trailer or other box trucks are coming and loading or unloading from the truck.
Do we have a photo of that, of the rear, Matthew?
The east. Because there's 2 rears here.
Yeah, I don't have a picture of the rear. I was capturing more of the curb cut, but these are 2 large, pretty significant doors, one here and one here.
Are they capable of handling tractor trailers?
It would be a tight turning. I would assume it would be a very, tight to back it in here to get a tractor trailer in. I understand there's 4 bays here. I mean, I understand what you're saying with the island. Maybe there's an island in the center and they still have the ability to, back up to this bay here and this bay here and lose the 2 center bays. I mean, it's really at the board's discretion on, what they think would be the best functionality.
Right.
That could potentially.
Wherever you can.
Yeah.
Take a look at that, Wayne, okay? Because
Well, I like that idea because it is pretty open and not so attractive right now.
you had a small island, not to interfere with all of the bays, but in the center with some vegetation, it would certainly help.
Yeah, and since the building is completely open inside, it's not necessary to access all of them, I would guess.
Right.
I do know the building was designed at a time when light industrial would allow 1 use per 10,000 square feet, which they could have had 4 tenants in here. And so each one would have had their own bay. So we can go back and look at that.
When Sokolin was there, this was all a warehouse. That's all. That was totally open space with warehouse, and the offices were on the right. So, okay, I don't know. Is anyone waiting here to speak? No? Charles, is there anyone?
I really can't tell at the moment.
You can't tell. Okay. Are there any other comments from the board?
Motion to close the 30-day written.
Motion by Dennis,
Second.
30 written comment period, second by Gloria. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. 6, 7, and everyone's here, 7 in favor. Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
And Jackie, I do understand that Lou's here now, if you want to go back to number 1.
Just muted.
No, she's muted. Did you hear me, Jackie?
Yes, Puccio, right? So you want to read?
Yeah, Lou is here. Charles, can you let Lou Puccio in?
I'm doing it.
Thank
The
you.
board has proper notice for number 1.
Thank you.
And what's Lou's in on?
I cannot find it.
You can't find him? Lou Puccio?
I know it's here, but
LP, Charles, it's LPD
oh,
Louis Puccio.
got him.
There we go.
All right, and I will read.
Sorry.
No problem. Notice of public hearing. Please take notice that in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order number 202.1. Oh, sorry. You know what? I'm on the wrong one again.
Yeah. Do you need to read that all again? Since I've read it at the beginning, Kathleen, is that necessary?
Unfortunately, it is because he's reading the notice that was published in the newspaper, Madam Chair,
Ah, okay.
and that's part of it.
Which is duplicated, right?
Yeah, just give me 1 second, guys.
Okay.
Notice of pre-submission conference. Please take notice that in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order number 202.1, a pre-submission conference will be held with the Southampton Town Planning Board on Thursday, June 25th, 2020 at 6 p.m. via video conferencing to consider the pre-submission conference application entitled Puccio Laundromat. This proposal is for the construction of an approximately 6,000 square foot laundromat with 65 washing machines and 46 proposed parking spaces on a 39,278 square foot parcel located within the HB zoning district situated at 134 East Montauk Highway within the hamlet of Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-263-3-33.1. A transcript of said hearing will be provided at a later date, and the public will have the opportunity to see and hear the meeting live and to provide comments. The public can watch the live meeting on the town clerk's website under the Planning Board's meeting tab or participate through the Zoom app if any interested members of the public would like to provide comments on the public hearing. Comments can be submitted to the Planning Board via mail, email, or uploaded to the town clerk's portal prior to the meeting, where additional and updated information on ways to view and participate will be posted. In addition, the record will remain open after the public hearing for the submission of written comments. Please check the 2020 meeting agenda posted on the town clerk's website as the hearing date approaches for further instructions on how to access the virtual meeting and for any updated information in the event of cancellation of the meeting. This application without further notice will be heard at the next Planning Board meeting. Jackie LaFaro, Chairperson, by order of the Planning Board of the Town of Southampton. Philip Keith, Secretary.
Thank
Couldn't
you.
have done better myself.
Thank you.
Lou, can
Yes.
can you give us an overview of the application, please?
Well, it's a 6,000 square foot parcel, and we are a tight space all around. I have put retaining walls around the outside of the property because the grade is so off from the existing building that I have So I had to put the retaining walls in to make a cross access. Otherwise, it would be too high. So I'm gonna level it properly, 2.5 feet lower than the building I already have. So I'll have to slant it down just a little bit to get to the cross access around the back.
Can we have a map where this is, please? Can we have a view where this is, please?
Robin, this is the former Capital One building,
Okay,
and that's on the, this is the parcel right here on the
Okay.
south side of the highway.
So,
I have
is
a
there a
site plan.
site- is there a site plan? Yeah,
Yep.
okay. So there's a center,
The cross access is gonna be just before the parked cars, so this way they could go right through the property. I can put it about further back because I don't want to take out any more spots.
right, do you think that, for how many parking spaces? You have 46 spaces
Yeah,
and 65 machines.
yeah.
Is there any banking in this, Matthew? Is there any?
There's no banking. The requirement as per town code right now is 1 space per 1 machine. Mr. Puccio did have a work session back in, I believe it was January or February, where, it was discussed, that he would have to, if he wanted to do shared parking, some kind of shared parking with the parcel to the east, which he's saying he's in ownership with, he'd have to demonstrate that the uses are not in conflict with each other.
Right,
But right now he's showing that, he doesn't have the required parking.
right. So could you do shared parking there, Lou?
Yeah, that's what the cross access is for.
Okay,
The office building is usually just during the day and the laundromat be busy at night.
and there are how many spaces in that office building? Quite a
I think
few,
there's like 30.
30. So you are 40, 56. You're almost 20 shy on this parcel. But
Right.
then there'd be a different calculation, wouldn't there, Matthew, for shared parking?
He'd have to meet the requirement, I believe. Claire might be able to speak to that. I don't know that it would be a shared parking. Like I said, he'd have to demonstrate that the uses weren't in conflict with each other.
They aren't.
Yeah, to show that, the offices, if the offices are closed at this time and then the laundromat's being used at different hours, that, you can demonstrate that you can, it's not going to take parking.
Plus the offices are closed on the weekend too, Saturday and Sunday.
Oh,
Business will
a
be,
big laundry day.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the planning board has that ability to recognize that the uses might be operated on different times, that the laundromat would not be operated in the daytime, wouldn't have as many visitors in the daytime. So you could make that finding, like you do for apartments and offices, right? People are away working during the day, most part. So you could make that determination.
Okay. Any other questions? Do we have anybody to speak to this application? Charles? Anyone for the
I don't
Puccio
see anyone.
Laundromat?
I don't see anyone.
No one. Okay, if there are no more questions, then we can close with a 30-day written comment period. Entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Gloria and second by
Second.
Robin. All in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, extensions, 7 in favor. Thank you, Lou.
Okay, thank you. Take care.
Yep.
Right, everybody.
I don't know how to get out of here.
Are you
Do I just hang up or something? Oh, stop video. Okay.
Take your computer and throw it out the window. That's how you get out.
That's right.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night, guys.
So 3 is the Sag Harbor Antique Fire Truck Museum. And that's
For his
Claire.
jurisdiction,
We have-
Madam Chair.
We have notice. Claire, this is for a special exception application.
Right, I'll read the notice into the record. Please take notice that in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order number 202.1, a public hearing will be held by the Town of Southampton on Thursday, June 25th, 2020 at 6 p.m. via video conferencing to consider the site plan special exception application entitled Sag Harbor Antique Fire Truck Museum. The site plan special exception application is to convert an existing 2,400 square foot farm stand into a museum on a 35,711 square foot parcel located in the Agricultural Overlay District situated in the CR 80 zoning district located at 35 Millstone Road, Bridgehampton, Town of Southampton, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-50-1-3.
Claire, who is here to represent this?
I believe Ed Dearmond is,
Dearmond?
and so if you can let him in.
Got him.
Yes. In the meantime, do you want me to do just a little overview? Okay, there he is. He needs to be on.
Claire, you can if you want.
Hey.
Sure. I'll share my screen. I'm sharing my Zoom screen. Sorry about that. So this is the area. This is Scuttle Hole Road, Millstone Road, and it has, this is the Geier here. It was a farm stand. I don't think it operated last year.
Unfortunately, you're correct.
Yeah. And so there's the entrance on Scuttle Hole and then Geier here. There are some parking spaces here, which is, I think this is where they're showing the parking spaces. I think 4 right now. I'll pull up there's the handicap spaces there. And there's more there's more spaces that could be accommodated on this side and this side. I'm going to let Ed speak. I'll just leave out the site plan. Ed?
You have to unmute yourself, Ed.
There we go.
There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, folks. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Ed Dearmond. I'm the Vice President of the Sag Harbor Antique Fire Truck Museum Incorporation. We're a small group, an independent group from the Sag Harbor Fire Department. We currently own 3 smaller pieces of property along the Sag Harbor Turnpike in the vicinity of the village-town line. Most people know it as Ligony Creek. We have some wetlands issues with that, and we thought that we would start to look around and see if we could leverage those properties into a better suited location somewhere near us. This particular property came up. We've been in contact with the owner for some time. Mr. Falkowski is very good about waiting for us to get through this process. So what we're looking for is simply, we have 3 antique fire trucks here in Sag Harbor that are considered rolling stock that we can take to parades, funerals, that type of thing. We're not looking to move into this property to make it an actual museum where people would come and visit, we'd be open and whatever. This is mainly a place for us to store our vehicles, maintain them, and then show them in other locations, whether it's the Southampton Village Muster or other locations like that. So we're looking to be extremely low key in our presence here. We're not looking to change anything on the outside of the building. As Claire said, it was a farm stand. It did not operate last year. It is not operating right now. We're not looking to continue the retail wholesale use. And no outside changes are planned. We're simply using the inside space to store and maintain our vehicles. We're not looking to add dumpsters, a sign. Again, we have a group of about 15 people. We're looking to get that up to about 20. So we're not looking at having meetings there. We're not looking to have a lot of vehicles there on the outside in the way of parking, etc. Looking for a pretty low-key presence there. However, we do need a special exception permit that permits us to operate in that building. We're trying to sell our properties to the Southampton Town CPF. We do have a mortgage commitment from the Bridgehampton National Bank to fund the difference. So that's essentially where we are. And I'd be willing to answer any questions that you may have.
Would you be amenable to closing up the Scuttle Hole Road access?
You know, we don't have a problem with that. I mean, you know, it depends. The Gaia Road turn is a little narrow, but it's kind of treed or vined off on, I guess you'd call it the north side. It is a bit of a hard turn, and a lot of the trucks coming from the Wainscott Sand and Gravel Pit come in and out of there. I mean, we could consider it, but you know, coming from the Bridgehampton or Southampton side, you know, it's an easy in and out. Coming from Sag Harbor, I think we probably would use the Gaia Road, but anything for us really is on the table. We're not looking to be a real problem here.
Good.
On the site plan, you show a kitchen and bathroom. Do those exist currently?
Those are existing. Those rooms are existing now. We're not looking to, you know, they're called what they were used for during the farm stand operation.
I was just, the reason I was asking was because it's already a wet use. So it's.
Yeah, I guess. I guess. I'm not sure. I'm not versed in that, but we would not be looking to have, you know, we don't need a kitchen.
So you're only storage and maintenance. Okay.
Storage and maintenance.
Any other questions? Is there anybody in the waiting room, Charles? No?
Not that I can see.
Okay, hearing not. If there are no other spaces, can I have a motion to close with a 30-day written comment period?
Motion.
By Dennis, second by Robin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 7 in favor. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Number 4 is the Homeland Towers, Tuckahoe. Claire, and we have notice.
We do, Madam Chair.
Great.
Please take notice that in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order number 202.1, a pre-submission conference will be held by the Southampton Town Planning Board on Thursday, June 25th, 2020 at 6 p.m. video conferencing to consider the pre-submission application entitled Homeland Towers Tuckahoe. The subject project is for the site plan special exception application for a 125-foot wireless communication facility monopole with external antennas and 2 alternatives, a 130-foot monopole tree and a 140-foot flagpole, and accessory structures on a 4.1 acre parcel improved with a single-family residence and adjacent to freshwater wetlands located in the R40 zoning district at 484 North McGee Street, Hamlet of Tuckahoe, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-111-2-42.17.
Thank
Can
you.
you hold a moment? Because I have someone raising their hand, and I just want to make sure.
Yeah, he's the rep. Robert Gardioso? Yes.
Yes, good evening.
Okay, Claire, can we have some maps?
Okay.
Sure could. Here's the aerial.
Okay, so we see the wetlands and the location of the tower is
The location of the tower is approximately here.
there.
Actually, I think it's a little further.
back, yeah.
It's in the back corner of the property, next to the woods. And the wetlands, based on the comments we had at the last meeting, we will not be in the wetlands or the buffer. The wetlands are actually off-site, located down and to the left. The hatched area is just the buffer, and we've actually relocated the utilities so that we will not be causing any disturbance within the buffer.
Robert, did you identify yourself? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry. It's Robert Corioso with the law firm of Snyder and Snyder on behalf of the applicant. I also have in the meeting Raymond Vergati. Ray did the alternative site analysis that we submitted, whereby he looked at 26 different alternative locations, and if he could share his maps, he actually has some maps showing that. And we have Matthew Allen from Saratoga Associates. Matt did the visual resource evaluation, and we took numerous photographs, and we rendered the monopole, the unipole, and the monopine, and we've performed renderings on those as well.
So this is a monopole with external antennas rather than internal?
We've proposed both. We've proposed both options. So we showed also the internal antennas, the unipole, as I think we've referred to it. We referenced it as a flagpole, but we can take the flag off. That's not a problem.
Okay.
I believe that's shown on sheet A3. Yes. So that, and we could take the flag off, or we could leave the flag on.
125 feet, right?
The flagless flagpole would be 15 feet taller to be able to support the antennas stacked the way they're shown in the rendering.
So what does it go up to? 125 plus?
15, which would be 140. And the tree pole would be 130 just to the top of the branches. The pole itself would stay at 125, but we showed the branches up to 130 feet to give it the appearance.
Right. And Claire, do you have the visual of the
What?
other part? Yes, the
If-
property of the overall property.
Oh, sure. I'll put the aerial back on. Robert, who was the other person you wanted it to attend? So Charles can invite him.
Mr. Vergati, V-E-R-G-A-T-I, Ray Vergati, and Matthew Allen.
Matthew Allen's in.
So if you want Matt to put up the visual renderings, he has those. And Ray has the map showing all the alternative sites we looked at. We're on a residential property. We understand that. We check the code. We meet the off-site residential setback. We meet it quite handily. That setback requirement is 375 feet, and we have 416 feet. So we do meet the code with respect to that. We don't meet the setbacks in the rear of the property, but that's something that's waivable, and those are all just woods back there. We are proposing 31 8-foot Norway spruces around the compound itself. So based on the large size and the way it's set back, we have some maps to show how we tried to pick a location that was as far from residences as possible. And Ray looked at
structure. What is the structure on the property?
the structure on the property. Is a single family residence and a pool. And we're actually we're actually further from the house than the height of the pole. So the distance is 138 feet to that residence.
But Claire, correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't our code say that the pole?
It says 300%. Yep.
Yeah.
We think that that's the off-site. It says, if you look at the code, it says off-site setback distances. So we believe that's the off-site residences.
No, the code says no cell towers on properties with residences.
So that's the code.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to see that section. I looked pretty carefully. I didn't see that section.
And secondly, only one use permitted in the residential district.
Mm-hmm. So we would, obviously apply for whatever variances we need as part of the application process.
You'd have to understand that this planning board could not support that since it violates the code.
We understand ultimately the zoning board would have to make that ultimate determination, and the planning board would certainly have its input. This being a telecommunications use, it does have certain federal laws that apply to it and certain state laws. If you look at our alternative site analysis that we submitted, quite frankly, the whole area is residential. So
you could remove the residents?
So I think, no, I don't think we can remove the residents, but I think that the whole area is residential, and that's one of the, that's one of the issues, obviously. So we tried to pick a location on a large parcel that was within the allowable setbacks from off-site residences, that was buffered by woodlands, and that's how we came to this location. But we did look at town-owned properties in the area. We looked at village-owned properties in the area. We looked at, like I said, 26 alternatives in total.
Are you renting space on this property from the homeowner?
Correct. We have a lease.
So Claire, does one use mean one company on the tower?
No, one use means the single family residence is the use on the property. So if you put a cell tower, it would be a second use in a residential district, which is very unusual.
Commercial use.
Correct.
Plus
Commercial use, right.
plus the fact it doesn't meet the 300%.
To a residence. That's what it says. It doesn't say except our residents, you know.
Right. So I think you're hearing our comments, Mr. Gaudiosos.
We understand.
Hmm.
Do you want to present more information?
I think it would be helpful to the board if we showed you Mr. Vergatti's report and showed you the alternatives that we looked at.
Okay.
I read it. Basically, everybody except the town and the village that didn't respond.
Well, that's right. We did look at other properties, though, that did respond, that were encumbered with wetlands, where the tower would actually have to be in the wetlands, as opposed to here, where we're able to avoid the wetlands. Look, we've said it since last year when we initially filed. We preferred the town-owned property, and if they were to make that available, we'd be happy to place the facility there. But at this point, it's not available to us.
And the industrial use to the south that has like little sand mine thing going on.
That village.
Yeah, that's the
village?
Yeah, it is village.
No, just to the south of here, on McGee.
I could have Mr. Vergatti show his map.
Mesky owns it. That would be maybe more appropriate.
I thought the village shooting range was there.
That's kind of behind him.
Okay.
Yeah, we had looked at the village shooting range. So this is Mr. Vergatti. He's from Homeland Towers. He's the one that scoured the area, and I think he can probably share his screen and show you a couple maps and give you a feel for what we were faced with.
Okay.
Good evening, members of the board. For the record, Ray Vergatti with Homeland Towers. I'm the regional manager for Homeland out of Danbury, Connecticut. We are a company that simply builds the infrastructure, critical public safety infrastructure for the carriers such as Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T and others. Just to recap, we've been looking for the past few years in the area. There's a need. Verizon is the co-applicant for this project. The search area basically runs up North McGee Street from Sabonic Road, across Millstone Brook Road, and then down Barker's Island Road, roughly a mile by a mile and a half. It's primarily residential, and I can go through the zoning map and go through what we call the ASA, the alternate site analysis, to look at the properties that were looked at. Claire, I don't know if it's best that you have those documents you can put up, or I can pull them up myself and put them on the screen.
If you want to, because you'll be speaking about them, then you can move through them.
Okay. Can everybody see this screen?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. This is a Google Earth image. And this is basically site A is the location of 44 North McGee, the subject site. This, for reference point, is North McGee Street, Millstone Brook, Barker's Road, and Sabonic that cuts down below. These are the two village and town properties that were just being talked about, the pistol shooting range. I think these are, you can see the N, M, and Q are other sand properties, sand pits that we did send proposals to as well.
And are they privately owned?
They are privately owned.
And did you get a response?
We did not get a response from people. We sent out certified letters. Typically in the tower business, we'll send a proposal to various landlords via certified letters. They'll sign for those proposals. They'll come, green card, they'll come back to us, and we ask them to reach out to us, obviously, if they have interest. And if we don't hear from them, we take it as a non-interest, obviously.
But these are, in terms of the locations, these are away from residences. And
Yeah,
then
the sand pit is
sand
definitely,
pit.
So when I look for a location, we first need to rule out any existing structures. And what that means is, are there any church steeples, water tanks, billboards, existing cell towers, transmission towers, tall rooftops? And when there are no existing structures in an area, we then will obviously go and look for a raw land, meaning we will need to build a tower structure.
I'm actually, can I just point out, there is a church. Did you reach out to them?
Which church are you alluding to, location-wise?
It's next to Ford's Lane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the rooftop is not adequate enough for space on that church. So no, it is not a candidate for an existing structure.
They're looking to rebuild, so you may want to, you could reach out to them. Maybe they
We'll look
consider
at
one.
Be happy to, and look, I always like to have an open dialogue when we go through these processes. And if somebody from the board knows of a property or knows of an interested landlord, I would respectfully ask to, please bring it forward to Mr. Gaudioso or Homeland Tower, and we'd be happy to pursue that property. We have what we have to work with, obviously. There's a definite need here. The closest cell sites are over 2 miles away, east, west, and south. There's nothing to the north. So as we get down through the application, the need is certainly justified by Verizon. And this is where the search area is located, obviously.
So continue, what about W over here? Looks like it's in the middle of nowhere.
W was a landowner on White's Lane Road. The proposal was sent to them, and there was no response from this owner.
that's Bloomberg's house behind.
Correct. This is Bloomberg's compound up on the area up here.
Yeah.
This
And there's a lot of Nature Conservancy or Peconic Land Trust between White's Lane and Bloomberg's house.
Yes, they received a proposal as well from Homeland Towers. We reached out to them with a proposal letter, and they did not respond.
Ray, maybe you can show the zoning map just to demonstrate the character of the area from the zoning perspective.
Sure, Rob.
That was part of your report, I believe.
Well, it's very helpful to see this, so.
So this is a zoning map for the town. The highlighted X is
Ray,
the
Ray, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You still have the other map up. You still have the Google Earth map.
Is that better?
No.
Right. How's that?
There you go. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe you could zoom it in a little bit. Great.
So again, for reference, this is North McGee Street running north-south. We have Sabonic Road on the bottom. Barker's Island Road runs in this direction. And then on the top up here, we have Millstone Brook. So you can see from the town's zoning map, it is primarily a R40 and R80 residential zone. And as I alluded to earlier, this square, if you want to call it, is the search area for Verizon within those 4 streets. So it is primarily R80. Look, I wish it was industrial or office or commercial. We would certainly go there as a first preference. But when we don't have that luxury, we have to look for a site that we feel is appropriate. We recognize there's a residential home on the property, but we also recognize it is 4 acres in size. It does back up to the wooded, heavily wooded Tuckahoe woods, where there is a pistol range and so forth. A lot of these lots that you can see are very small in size. That church lot that you mentioned, we'll certainly look at it, but if my recollection is correct, over by Ford's Lane, I think it was maybe half an acre, 3/4 of an acre in size. So we try to pick a site with common sense, meaning the least visual impact to a community. We think we have a good location here. Understand it does not meet your code 100%, and we'd like to work with you folks on that. But this is basically the zoning map showing, again, the subject parcel where we're located.
Have you exhausted co-locating? Because if you're in a residential area within this grid, I would think that the only alternative is to co-locate.
Sure. So, Ray, maybe you can put up the master plan map, and while you're doing that, I'll speak to the PeerCon Solutions report. We actually had a third party perform a test. They actually collected all the signals in the area. Not only is there a gap in this area, there's a gap as you go further north. And that's all documented with maps, and they looked at all the surrounding sites, and Verizon's co-located on the surrounding sites. But this is I know it's a hard map to read, but this is the map from the town's master plan. And what Ray marked with a blue X is the location of the site. And as you can see, all of the existing sites are quite far away, and they just simply don't provide coverage in this area. We also demonstrated that Verizon has another site proposed, and even with that site, there will still be a gap in this area. So that's all in the PeerCon Solutions report.
What's your distance? What's the maximum distance? A half a mile, a mile?
Well, I hate to answer it with that because it varies depending on which direction it goes in and how the antennas are oriented and whether you're providing in building or in vehicle service. But if you look at the maps that we have in the PeerCon report, and we'll resubmit this with the full application, but we show exactly where the site would cover. And what we actually did is we also did a test at this particular location, and we tested different heights to try and figure out which height would be the minimum height necessary. And that's how we were able to design the height of this tower, by actually doing a test with a test transmitter at this site to confirm that height.
So I have another question. Do you ever go back to the people you sent letters and queries to a second time?
We certainly could, and in fact, in this case, we did a couple times. Some others we didn't, but if there were, and I'm not even asking for this tonight, but between now and when the report comes out, if there are specific properties in the list of 26 sites that Ray identified, if there are specific properties that you think are better alternatives, we would be more than happy to go back to those property owners. As Ray said,
well, if you locate your tower there and it falls down the right way, you'll take out my back deck. And I've got some very noisy neighbors I'd like to get rid of. But I think it's probably a problematic site with so many residences and whatnot in the area.
We do meet the offsite residential setback, which is, the 3 times the height of the tower, the 375 feet. The closest residence, 416 feet. So we do understand there are residences in the area, but I don't believe we're within the fall zone.
But it doesn't get away from the fact that it's not permitted. That's the baseline.
Mhm.
And we might very well have to seek a use variance from the zoning board.
That's a high bar.
And that's, well, for a public utility facility, it's a different bar.
A public utility that may have alternatives.
And we're happy to exhaust those alternatives.
Okay.
If there are,
We're asking.
Yeah, if there are alternatives that, anyone thinks is a better alternative, we're certainly happy to pursue those.
Okay, any more questions? Charles, is there anyone in the waiting room wishing to speak to this application?
Which number is this?
It's number 4.
I believe Stephanie McNamara would like to be heard, if you can find her.
If you could stop sharing the screen, if, in case they have a question for the Max, I can pull them up. Thanks.
You know, there's a hill back. There's a hill back there, just to the north of the shooting range, where there really isn't any. There are no personal residences. I mean, we hike through there a lot.
Yeah, it's a beautiful view of North Sea Harbor from
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, but that I believe is village owned.
Oh, that's village. You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Because we've been trying to put a observation tower up
Yeah,
there, and
yeah.
we've gotten shot down by the village a bunch of times.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah, we
Okay.
did reach out to the village as well.
Stephanie is coming.
Stephanie,
Hi, how are
all
you?
yours.
Okay, thank you. I'm the chairperson of the North Sea Citizens Advisory Committee. I'm not speaking on behalf of the committee this evening, but the location of cell towers has come up on several occasions. The latest one, I believe, was this particular site when we had a meeting a few months ago, and we were told it was not permitted in that area. So we did not submit anything in writing. Hi. Anyway, when I saw that this was coming up again this evening, I just wanted to speak about it personally, and then on behalf of the committee, I will submit a letter if everyone's in agreement of doing so. We are not in favor of any kind of a cell tower in a residential area. Anything that lines up in Tuckahoe Woods, where there's a lot of hiking trails in there, and people use it on a regular basis. It is in a residential area. There are many homes, close by. And as you said before, much to my relief, it's not permitted on a piece of property where there is already a residence. So I don't know, going forward about going to the Zoning Board of Appeals and so forth, but personally, I just want to speak against this. I recognize that there's a need for cell tower coverage in North Sea, Watermill, and many areas out here. However, putting it in a residential neighborhood is just not appropriate, especially in Tuckahoe Woods area.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie. You'll submit a letter?
Yes, I just sent out an email to the CAC, so I'll submit one on behalf of myself, but I will also, after speaking with CAC, we'll submit a letter as well, as if everyone's in agreement, and I believe they are.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you.
We have another speaker. PR Harris would like to speak.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, this is Pamela Harris, and I'm looking at your map. It is the tower. Oh, hold on. It's my phone.
Are you on a phone? That will happen with two devices.
Sounds like she's calling from Mars.
Right now.
No, now we don't hear her at all.
She's
muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Residents, according to that map, where the little red A is between Pioneer Lane and Ford's Lane. We really object to the building of a cell tower in our neighborhood. I'm very pleased to know that it's against the law so far. But there are environmental concerns that are still being explored about the radiation emitted in the areas around cell towers, and also how they affect property values in surrounding areas. So there is a very definite objection I only found out about this yesterday and have been able to contact a few of my neighbors. We're all like-minded. If you like, I'll canvass the whole of North McGee Street, but we object very strongly to the building of a cell tower in our neighborhood.
I suggest you write some letters and get them to the planning board.
Certainly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Charles,
you for hearing me. I'm sorry, I didn't appreciate you properly when I first spoke, but this is a whole new situation for me, and I'm actually amazed that I was able to connect at all.
you're not the only one. Zoom is in everyone's life now.
Yeah,
Amazed.
so
You
it
did
is.
well.
So it is, but I do think that they need to contact everybody in the area personally with letters. I was not contacted. I know a neighbor was, and he didn't respond, but I was. None of the people, if individual homeowners were contacted about how we feel about this tower, and I just think that would have to be at least a consideration besides the legal.
So now is your opportunity to get your comments in. That's the purpose of a public hearing. So
yeah,
you're
so
on record.
I'm on record. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Charles, is there anyone else?
I think that's it.
Okay. So hearing no further
One second.
discussion.
1 second. Would you like to be heard?
Yes, I would if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, my name's Paulus Walker. I'm a resident at Pioneer Lane. I'm a neighbor of Pam's, and I was one of the people who contacted her. And I thank the board members here today for all your hard work before we get off, because you guys do a lot, for our community. But I didn't hear from the people who are constructing the tower. I just want to go on record also as saying that I have a lot of concerns with the tower, health-wise and property value-wise. I know you guys are busy, and I'm going to keep you long, so I just wanted to make that statement before we get off.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else, Charles?
That's it.
Okay. No, if there are no other comments from the board or Mr. Gaudioso, we'll close with a 30-day written comment period.
Motion.
Motion by Dennis, second by Glorian. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 7 in favor. Thank you. Thanks very
Thank
much.
you very much for your time tonight. Thank you. Have a nice 4th of July.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Do we have a meeting next week?
So Verizon, number 5, Verizon Wireless High Street.
We have notice, Madam Chair.
Okay.
And you let Denise Vista in? I think that's her name. I mean, that's who is attending. Okay, and I want to read the notice. Please take notice that in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order number 202.1, a public hearing will be held by the Southampton Town Planning Board on Thursday, June 25th, 2020 at 6 p.m. via video conferencing to consider the site plan special exception application entitled Verizon Wireless High Street. The subject property is for the site plan special exception application for the construction of a 160-foot tall wireless communication facility, monopole with external antennas, with equipment shelters on a 44.8 acre parcel property utilized for sand mining, located in the CR 200 zoning district, located at 1 High Street, East Court, Town of Southampton, Suffolk County tax numbers 900-326-1-4 and 17 and 900-301-3-1.
Thank you. Are you Ray Vagati? Or you're
No.
Denise Vista?
Denise.
Are you representing the client?
Yes. Hi, Denise Vista with Amato Law Group, 666 Old Country Road, Garden City, New York, 11530. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant, New York SMSA Limited Partnership, doing business as Verizon Wireless. Verizon Wireless respectfully requests special exception and site plan approval pursuant to section 330-305E of the town's code, as well as a waiver of the landscaping requirement. Verizon is currently experiencing service deficiencies within this area of Eastport. And once the facility is constructed and on air, the coverage gaps would be eliminated. Just want to give you a little information about the property itself. As Claire said, it's located at 1 High Street in Eastport. It's comprised of 3 tax lots, totaling 111 acres. It is zoned CR 200. It is currently it's currently operated as a sand mining operation. It is also used for staging of mulching, gravel, and soils. It's my understanding that it's been a sand mine since about the 1970s. The facility will be located, as I said, in an industrial developed parcel that is surrounded by substantial buffers of natural vegetation. There are industrial and agricultural uses in the area, as well as substantial vacant wooded land. The facility would have limited visibility due to that dense vegetation that I mentioned that surrounds the property and the area. So briefly, let me just tell you what Verizon is proposing at this property. A 160-foot monopole, which would be galvanized gray, be located in the northeast portion of the property. It is 100% fall zone compliant, and it can accommodate a total of 4 wireless carriers. 12 antennas will be mounted on compact T-arms, so it basically looks like the antennas are flush mounted, and they will be painted to match the monopole. The monopole will be enclosed within a 3,600 square foot equipment compound with an 8-foot high chain link fence with privacy slats. And within there will be Verizon's equipment, including a concrete pad, equipment cabinets, a propane fired backup generator. And additionally, as you can see on the sheet that Claire has pulled up here, we are proposing an access road within the property to connect to the existing dirt road on the property, which leads to High Street. The facility will be fully compliant with the FCC regulations in that it'll be 0.5856% of the FCC guidelines, which is 170 times below the regulations. And as I have mentioned, we are seeking a waiver of the landscaping requirements. We don't believe that there would be an adverse impact. You will not be able to see the equipment compound unless you're on the property itself. And since this is used as a sand mining operation, it doesn't deem itself necessary, we don't feel, to surround it with, say, evergreen trees. So tonight I do have with me 5 experts who have submitted their reports into the record. Briefly, I can go over who is with me so you're aware of if you have any questions. Dan Falasco, he's familiar with the siting of the facility, applicable building codes, and the structural stability. He prepared an engineering report dated June 11th, 2020. John Ellsworth with VHB is here tonight as well. He prepared the land use, zoning, and visual impact analysis dated June 2020, which addresses the aesthetic, planning, and environmental impacts of the facility. Martin Lavin, who is a radio frequency engineer with C-Squared Systems, who can discuss the need for the facility. He prepared the RF report dated August 26, 2019. Dave Collins of Pinnacle Telecom Group, who can discuss the FCC compliance, which was addressed in his report dated June 3rd, 2019. And Mike Lynch, who's an appraiser at Lynch Appraisal LTD, who prepared the real estate consulting report dated June 8th, 2020, who can discuss the real estate impacts, which are none, on the area. And then lastly, we do have Katie Jacobs with, she's a site acquisition specialist with Verizon Wireless, who can discuss the location that was chosen for this property. So with that, I would open it up to any questions that you may have.
I think we're familiar with the application. So if there are no questions, I don't know if there's someone in the waiting room. Charles? Charles?
Sorry.
Anyone in the waiting room for this, Charles? We
looking.
do have a written letter.
Yeah.
Kathleen, you have a written
You have a
comment?
name?
Actually, Madam Chair, the written comment was Mr. Walker, who was heard at the last hearing.
Oh, the last one.
Yeah, so I did say number 5, I apologize. That's how they cataloged it, but it was really for number 4.
Okay.
I don't see anyone with their hand up, so.
Okay. So we're familiar with the application, Ms. Vista, so I think that unless there are, thank you for amassing all of the experts, but unless somebody has a question on the board, we'll move it along with a 30-day written comment period.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like a much better site than the last one we just discussed.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I'll move to close.
moved by Dennis, second by Phil, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all very much. Have a nice evening. Happy 4th.
You too.
Thank you.
I can't believe we're saying happy 4th.
We're not going anywhere, no
We'll
fire.
be saying happy Thanksgiving.
Well, enjoy everyone. Thank you.
So do I have a motion to close the session? Motion by Glorian, second by Robin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, extensions. We are adjourned.